The Aperture Field, a place for seeing clearly and thinking about what matters. This is Carrie Lamott, contemplating the written work, Systems Move Through Rhythms. Problems often emerge when we mistake one phase for the whole story. We often speak about sustainability as though the world should exist in perfect equilibrium at all times. But living systems don't work that way. They move through cycles of growth, consolidation, release, and renewal. We need look no farther than the seasons themselves. Spring plants its seeds. Summer is a season of growth and expansion. Fall brings the harvest and evaluation, as well as the pruning and cutting back of what no longer serves. And winter becomes a time of integration and preparation for what comes next. And around we go. Throughout history, we've seen this same cyclical rhythm appear again and again. We push forward and discover things that fundamentally reshape society. Metallurgy, steam power, computing, and now AI. In each transition, we surge towards new frontiers, summiting the edge of what we know and suddenly beholding an entirely new landscape of possibility. But discovery is only the beginning. What follows is always a period of incorporation, a long phase of weaving those discoveries into the fabric of society itself, fundamentally reshaping how we live, work, govern, relate, and understand the world around us. This is the natural rhythm of evolution. We push outward and find new edges, and in doing so, we sense both the exhilaration and the fragility of standing at the boundary of the unknown, and how new discoveries can either fracture systems or usher in entirely new eras of flourishing. Over time, those discoveries become integrated into the structures of everyday life. Institutions mature, systems stabilize, and society reorganizes itself around the new reality. And eventually, that very stability itself begins to harden. What was once adaptive and life-giving slowly becomes rigid. Mature systems become stale instead of simply stable. And eventually, the growth cycle begins again, nudging society forward into another period of transformation. But the end of each of these cycles rarely feels graceful from the inside. The end of an era of growth feels more like teetering on collapse. Too much unintegrated change accumulating too quickly. Systems straining under the weight of their own complexity. Institutions falling increasingly out of sync with what is now possible and perhaps even necessary for society to become. We begin to sense that the underlying infrastructure of how we live must change, while simultaneously discovering that the very structures built to create stability are naturally resistant to fundamental transformation. And so the cultural rhythm begins to shift. The drumbeat of relentless growth gives way to another rhythm entirely. Integrate, consolidate, digest, reorganize. Growth gives way to application. Expansion gives way to restructuring and renewal. Like a farmer harvesting fruit at its peak and storing it for the winter, we begin preserving and integrating what's been learned so it doesn't simply rot on the vine in an endless pursuit of more. And perhaps this is where we now find ourselves. Not at the end of progress, but at the end of a particular phase of progress. A civilization-wide pause to metabolize what we've created. No athlete becomes stronger during exertion itself. Strength emerges during recovery and integration. Yet culturally, we increasingly treat recovery as failure. There's no need to vilify the extraordinary growth era that brought us here simply because it's reached its natural limits. Better that we honor what's been built, recognize the immense beauty and possibility that it created, and allow ourselves to enter the next phase consciously, one of integration, restructuring, maturation, and renewal. Winter is not the death of the forest. It's part of how forests survive. These notes are really an ongoing exploration, an attempt to make sense of the patterns, tensions, and transitions shaping the world around us and within us. If something here resonated with you or sparked reflections of your own, you can continue the conversation over at the Aperture Field on Substack. I'd truly love to hear what you're seeing too. Until next time, take good care of yourself and of the systems you're part of. Music by Pavel Bakarev.